Hello, welcome to Tutors of Life podcast where we research life so you don't have to. Episode 327. This is your host, Shaun Tutor.
And this is Sam. And this is a Tutor episode where we try to teach you something new.
Dope.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did. Very productive.
Very productive. We don't get many weekends home.
Mm-mm.
So when we do get weekends home, we try to make them count.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's so funny because, like, yesterday starting off, like, we went and did some things that weren't a part of the plan. And Shaun was just like, oh, my God.
It's like we're getting close.
We're getting nothing done. And then we got a ton done.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Very, very good. Homestead and shit.
Yeah. That is true. It was a lot of that. Just a lot of home shit.
Mm-hmm. Got our rain barrels put up. Got our tallow made. Did some freeze drying.
Gutters cleaned out.
Gutters were cleaned.
Some fucking mowing, which I'm going to pass off because I'm sick of mowing. I'm not sick of mowing. I'm sick of the time it takes to mow.
Yeah.
I like mowing. It's just when I'm like, hey, should I spend 2 hours a week doing this? Debatable.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was good. So, what do we got?
All right. Here we go. So, Ryan said he liked us going in deep on some of like our shit and the reasons behind what we do. And then Brandon sent me something about Midwest meal prepping company. And I was like, nice. It's like, and he's like, this way I can eat healthy. And I'm like, well, you get your macros.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy, debatable, but you get your macros.
Yeah.
The Trend brothers said it best, which they got from someone else, but whatever, is macro is how you look, micros is how you feel.
Oh,
so your
makes
micronutrients,
sense.
how you feel, macronutrients is how you look.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I will say that's kind of not all the way true with that is a lot of macros, a lot of like what people will eat for their macros will make you inflamed.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Inflamed?
Like bloated? Or
Yeah, they get you bloated. You'll have a lot of inflammation and stuff. And so you'll hold on to an extra 5, 10, 15 pounds in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, we've talked about it on here, but Rampage Jackson, when he talks about going to Colombia and how he loses 15 pounds in a week, it's because all that inflammation's getting out of him from all the bad shit.
Yeah.
And so, that's something to think about. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is like how we meal prep and why we do it that way. So I've been meal prepping since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I've pretty much meal prepped every week since I was 18.
That's impressive.
Yep. Just because I think I've seen so many people do it. It's too easy if you're not meal prepping to just
Go out to eat.
go eat. Yeah, go out to eat, whatever. And so I try to meal prep. And at first it was I'd meal prep for the whole week. And then by the time you get to Saturday, your food tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Just garbage food. And so then we switched to meal prepping twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
On Sundays and on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So we cook 3 days worth of meals at a time. And then Sunday is kind of like leftover days from like dinners that we cook during the week. Or
we're meal prepping anyway, so we're like,
we're eating that shit, adding in extra food, whatever. Maybe we'll Sundays we do typically get something to eat out usually.
At least once, yeah.
Yep.
Or like we'll eat, like if we went out to eat one of the other days, then we'll eat that meal, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, leftovers.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we do it, twice a week, Sundays, Wednesdays. We found splitting it up that way. Your food tastes fresh the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other good part is meal prep isn't so extensive and like overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm about to endeavor on this 4-hour meal prep. Sam and I do it together. Mm-hmm. It takes 1 hour Sunday, 1 hour Wednesday. That's how long it takes. Granted, you got to wash dishes and stuff and do a little cleanup, whatever. So factor in hour and a half with 2 people. You can get your meal prep done for 3 days.
For 3 days for breakfast and lunch is what we do.
We do breakfast, lunch, and a lot of times a third meal for me.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes a third meal.
So, yeah. And then we also meal prep for Mimi, her 2 meals. So, Mimi eats, we have Mimi on like an all real food diet. And so we make her, we do 7 meals. So, she eats twice a day. So, we do 7 meals, Sunday, 7 meals on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So, in that way, she gets 14 meals a week, all human food. Boom. And so, if we weren't cooking for Mimi,
and you have kids.
And you got kids, put that into that place, right? Like if you had kids instead of Mimi, I'm sure Mimi eats similar amounts to a kid.
I'm sure she eats more than some kids.
Yeah, that freaking chunk. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you look at it that way, if you're just just a couple, you could probably get that. You could cook all your meals then. If you wanted to, you wouldn't even have to do a dinner. You could just cook all your meals. Mm-hmm. Hour and a half, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, very easily.
So, a couple main things we want to touch on is like we used to do the Midwest meal thing, mm-hmm. but what I noticed with the Midwest meal thing is very low quality meat, mm-hmm. low quality carbs and shit, a lot of red sauce meals, which is terrible for you unless you're getting it in Europe. Red sauce meals in the U.S. typically aren't good. And what comes with red sauce?
We'll go in depth on that. Red sauce obviously is tomatoes. Tomatoes is like one of like the most pesticide sprayed vegetable.
Yeah.
Those and I think strawberries are the other two, or is the other one that like they said like if you squeeze it, like we don't see it, but like if you test like the juices when you squeeze it, it's like a lot of it is pesticides.
Yeah.
So that is why red sauce is so bad in the U.S. because the majority of the time it is going to be mainly pesticides, not the tomatoes.
Right.
So I just wanted to go in depth on that.
Yeah, thank you. And so that's what you get with your red sauce, and then a lot of pasta. Mm-hmm. Pasta is wheat. Wheat in the U.S. is like 98% glyphosate.
So pesticides.
So there's only like 2% of pasta in the U.S. that's not covered in pesticides.
Yeah.
And most things are, is it Roundup wheat or what is it? It's whatever they now manufacture. They manufacture or like combine the wheat with a certain pesticide so that when they go to harvest it, if it rains, it doesn't kill the crop. Because that's something people always worried about, or that was a big deal, is if you harvested your wheat and it rained, because it needs like 3-4 days to dry, and it rained, you lose your whole crop. But so they engineered wheat with a pesticide so that when they harvest it, it doesn't matter. You never lose a crop. But now you've got genetic modified wheat, but they just call it wheat because it's all wheat is like that now, unless it's organic wheat.
Yeah. And I will say this real quickly for any of you crazy people out there, because I was this way at one point. Not all GMOs are bad, but most recent GMOs are bad. And a lot of things that we're doing now is like we're taking like 2 very different things and genetically modifying them. Most of like the original GMOs are actually just like what is it when you take like the 2 best
selective breeding,
yeah. So that is like what a lot of original GMOs was selective breeding,
taking the best 2 apple breeds, mutating them together.
Yeah. Or like you only take the seeds from the best apple.
Right.
And then you just keep doing that.
Right.
But yeah, now they're actually like literally taking the DNA from a pest. They're like taking traits of a pesticide and inputting it into the DNA of other things. And that is where you get not good things.
Right.
So I will put that in there.
And so, yeah, we noticed, the quality of the food's not good in that. And so we started really looking at the quality of our food. Well, we would get beef from one of my relatives raises beef, and we get a quarter beef a year. And we would notice if we would get beef from like the grocery store, it wouldn't taste anywhere near the same. It'd be like more gristly, it'd stink, and
it had those weird like chewy bits in it.
Yeah. And so we're like, this ain't right. So we tried it from a bunch of different stores, whatever. It was all terrible. So we were like, maybe it's just the meat. Well, we were up at the packaging plant, Pinter's, and we're like, hey, can we try out your ground beef? And they're like, yep, everything here is from local farmers. All meat in here is from local farmers. Okay, sweet. Boom, get it. No issues.
Tastes great.
Tastes great. So we're like, okay, this is good. So now we knew that the beef never smelt weird. It tasted good. It wasn't like the weird bright red that they like dye it with, and shit.
Or like I think they oxygenate it.
Oxygenate it, yep. And so none of that. It was just good quality ground beef. So we get our ground beef there. Okay, cool. And we noticed with our fish, we used to get salmon. So we usually eat salmon every week.
Because we were told salmon's really good for you.
Yep.
And then we started doing research.
Yeah, and so we were getting salmon from Aldi, and we tried getting salmon from a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
And it was all like the orange, orange salmon. Go ahead.
Oh. No, I wasn't going to interrupt you.
Do
you want me to continue on that?
Yeah, go ahead with it.
Yeah, it was all just bright orange. If it sat in the fridge for a day or 2, 3 days, it was so fishy smelling. And what we learned was that most fish that are in the supermarkets, it's all like bred in like farms. So it's not good quality salmon. They're usually poisoned with a lot of heavy metals. Yep. It's just not a good place to get it.
Right.
And they like heavily breed them too. So they're like...
Yeah, a lot of what we were reading is like farmed fish like that, even though it says wild, fresh caught fish.
Yeah.
It's not. It's bad. So I just happened to meet, I don't even know how the hell I met this guy. Oh my gosh. I called, so right around the same time we were figuring this out, I was down in Alma, Wisconsin, and I needed a guy to take care of some trees. So I call a tree company. This dude comes out, and I spent a nice chat with this dude for an hour about trees. Well, here to come find out, he's like, I got to fit you in this week. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Why? Well, the following week I leave for Alaska. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I commercial fish in Alaska every summer. I was like, what in the world? So chatting with him about that. So he's like, yeah, dude, I've got a bunch of fish. Everything I've got is Alaskan sockeye salmon. And I was like, oh. And he's like, it's not your orange fish. He's like, this is a deep red fish. It's and I'm like, okay. And I was like, how do you sell them? He's like, sell them in the case. Case 25. Okay. I was like, done. So went down to Black River Falls, met him, bought a case of fish, and we get it back, we open it up, and we try it. It's just deep red. It's beautiful. It tastes so great. Not fishy at all.
No.
If we've let it sit in the fridge for 7 days.
And still not fishy.
Still not fishy.
And it's just like, it's so long too. Like that's how you know it's like actually fresh, wild caught salmon.
It's just one long fillet.
It's twice the length as what Aldi ever had.
Yeah,
and it's thinner, for sure. But yeah, it's long and thin, like they're supposed to grow.
And it's not like fatty. It's like lean. It's like, yeah, this fucking thing was swimming.
Yeah,
like, this thing was a beast. So yeah, now we know where to source our salmon. It's like ends up being like $13 a fillet or something.
Yeah.
And that's where we get our salmon. We eat it once a week. Life's grand. So we got our beef and we got our salmon, right?
Yeah.
So
Chicken was a wild ride.
Chicken, we tried getting your organic chickens. We tried getting it from all different places. We've tried getting it from like meat markets and stuff, or like different like places that have a meat counter and whatnot.
Yeah. What the funny thing about chicken was like we never questioned where we got our chicken from. So we always just got it at Aldi. Also, I highly recommend if you're gonna get anything like at the grocery store, just go to Aldi.
Yeah, but so I mean, we've tried going to like a meat market in town.
Yeah. Oh, but so sorry, back to my story. We had to figure out new places to go to because Aldi and like so many other grocery stores had this weird chicken shortage.
That's
because there was the bird flu and people were killing off all their chickens, whatever. And we're like, this can't be happening everywhere. Like, there has to be a place that still has chickens. And I think we happened to be going to Pinter's for our beef anyways.
Yeah.
And Shaun... Oh, because we always saw that they had chicken thighs and breasts in their freezers.
Yeah, but we were just like, oh, whatever, cool.
Yeah. So we were like, oh, let's just try it. Literally, the first time we opened up one of the chicken breast packets, we thought it was like 3 or 4 in there. Like, because it was the same size as what we would get from Aldi. And we're like, there must be 3 or 4 in here. It was one.
One. Fucking massive.
One massive chicken breast. And from then on, we're like, yep.
And the thing was, it didn't stink. It wasn't chewy. It wasn't like all the
texture is just so beautiful.
Yep. All the stuff we noticed from like other meat markets and like all the grocery stores, it's got weird textures. It starts to stink after a couple days. All that stuff. None of that. None of that at all.
It's almost like I don't want to say like powdery, but like it just dissolves in your mouth.
Yeah.
The Pinter's stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't like...
And the the other stuff is just so chewy. Like no matter how like perfectly you cook it, it's still just chewy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So very, very impressed. So now then we're getting that there. But while we were there, we're like, well, hey, let's check out their bacon. Because we're like, I talked to the lady. Again, I'm like, well, your beef is from all local farmers. I was like, how about everything else? She's like, everything in here is from local farmers. And I was like, okay. So it's like, how about the bacon? Well, the bacon's cheaper than bacon at any other fucking store I've ever been to. Thicker cut, whatever. So we started getting bacon there. So we get our bacon, chicken, beef there, and it's all glorious.
And there are like, and we're not saying you have, like, especially for all you Eau Claire people listening, we're not saying you have to go to the same butcher shop we go to because it is an hour drive away.
Yeah, we drive an hour.
But there are plenty of them like that around. We're just the type of people that we're like, we know we like this, so we're going to keep getting this company's.
Yeah, and I mean, comparative to like the other places around, it's a lot better price.
I mean, yeah. When you think about it, it's a small town, so obviously the prices are probably going to be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But there are like plenty of places around Eau Claire that do it.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them do deliver right to your door.
Yep.
Even there's a butcher shop in Altoona. Rumps has actually pretty good meat there. But you're going to be paying a pretty nice premium there.
Yeah.
But it is an experiment of like figuring out what you like. Shaun and I, we just, I don't know if it's because we know about it is why like stuck in our brain of like we needed to get better meat. Like chicken, we honestly didn't even realize that the store-bought chicken was such a weird texture and tasted bad until we got good chicken from local farmers.
And so something that most people don't probably know. So if you go, most chicken that you get, if you go to like a fast food place or go out to eat, most of that chicken is hormones. And most of the chicken you get in the store is hormones. So they're filled with hormones and fed shitty grains and all that stuff, okay? Well, them and pork tend to hold the most, like, they hold the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Like bad things.
I have no clue where you're going with that. But it holds all of it in its meat, in the muscles.
Right. So,
like, the hormones are stored there. It's just not like processed through the liver and stomach as much.
yeah. So if you're not getting good sourced pork and good sourced chicken, you're consuming like tainted meat, right? Tainted with like hormones and poor feed and things like that, right?
I think like pork, they found like plastic in some
I'm not surprised.
pork meats. Anyways, sorry.
But then cows have 4 stomachs, and so a lot of that stuff, if they're fed that kind of stuff, gets filtered out through the 4 stomachs, gets filtered, and so if it goes in the meat, it's not as much or as severe. And so if they're getting shitty grain and stuff like that, if you go out to eat, you're safer to get red meat because there's a lot less likelihood of it of you like consuming a lot of hormones and a lot of like negative shit because it filters through their stomach. So when I go out to eat, I rarely ever get chicken. I almost always get red meat because I know it's the safer option. And then pork, we just found organic source for pork this last year. It's phenomenal. We pay way too much for it. It doesn't make sense, but it's the best fucking pork I've ever tasted in my life, hands down. And we used to raise, starting from like 12 to 18 or 17, whatever, we raised hogs and stuff. And then we also got slaughtered hogs and stuff from local farmers and everything. By far, hands down, the best pork I've ever had.
Yeah. It was so fucking good.
So fucking, it doesn't even make any goddamn sense.
Yeah.
So anyways, we found a good spot for that. I think they they raise 20 hogs a year only. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
So yeah, so that's kind of like where we get a lot of our meats from. Eggs, we've been kind of...
Eggs, we try a lot of places. We try Aldi. The organic Aldi free range is our like last ditch option.
It's probably the best option for you if you're going to get them from the store.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But we have like 3 different sources for eggs. And we used to have a really good source for duck eggs. Now we've got a pretty good source for duck eggs. But we had a real good source for duck eggs before. Miss it. But we had to drive 45 minutes for that.
And we were like her only customers, so.
Yeah, so she got rid of her ducks because we were the only customers. So sad. Anyhow, that's something, eggs, that we get from people because eggs is... the best. Someday maybe we'll get raw milk from someone. That'd be cool.
Just to go in to like the egg, like why eggs? Why are eggs so particular? Never get white chicken eggs. If you get white chicken eggs, that means they were bleached. Yeah. And that bleach can goes into the eggs. So always get unbleached ones. Usually, I think they just call them free range, don't they?
Free range, yeah.
Yeah. And then we just like getting the organic brand, even though I know some say it's not that much better, but whatever. At least it's a little bit of control.
Yep. And if you can get it from a local person who you can trust.
I highly suggest farmers markets too, for like all your vegetables, fruits, eggs. Definitely go to farmers markets. Eau Claire has a farmers market every single day of the week.
And if you don't want to go there, we've found the best luck is at Aldi.
Yeah.
And we follow pretty close to a vertical diet by Stan Efferding. So we get like our organic, never from concentrate, OJ from there. We get the organic yogurt,
Greek yogurt,
plain, always plain. We get honey from friends. We got a couple friends who do who have relatives who do honey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we get our honey.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup we try to get from family and friends. Last ditch option, we'll get it from like the farmer's market. But so we always just sweeten our own stuff. We use honey. Like if we make pancakes, we don't put sugar in it or nothing.
We always do honey. It tastes better.
It's so much better, dude. Come on. So that's kind of what we always try to do our own option. We stop getting like name brand protein and shit, and we get just like the as clean a protein as you can get, and then put your own sweetener in it.
What is Mark Bell's?
Steak Shake.
Steak Shake.
Good option.
Yeah, that's one we haven't tried it yet, but that's one we're thinking of switching to.
So I mean, this stuff's more expensive, right? But here's the thing. Once you start researching this stuff, like Sam and I have spent fucking days, weeks of looking into this shit, because I've got such bad skin. If I'm inflamed, whatever, my shit just gets all fucked up. So we spend so much time looking into this. If you lived in Asia, if you lived in Europe, if you lived in South America, you don't have to worry about none of this.
Nope.
Go ahead, move on. Don't listen to this. If you live in the U.S., where the FDA and the government loves to poison us, it could be worth listening to. There's a reason that like 90% of the year I got a six-pack. You know, there's a reason Sam and I are lean, fit, whatever. It's because we're not putting this shit into our fucking body. Every now and again, you know, I'll have some shit. Like this weekend, ate a couple too many sweets. It happens. But I had a couple slices of pizza, whatever. But that shit is not the norm. It's not the normal shit I'm putting in my fucking gullet, because I don't want to be a fat dough fuck. And I like feeling good. And when I eat like that, I feel like shit. And so a lot of people don't know what it feels like to feel good.
Yeah.
To not be bloated, to not be inflamed. It's a great feeling.
Oh, do you have more on that?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so here's what we do for meal prep, by the way.
Boom. Love it. Thank you.
So,
last thing, real quick.
Yeah.
Broth, bone broth. Bone broth is so good for digestion. Bone broth is so good.
Aldi, by the way.
Aldi, all organic chicken or beef bone broth. I cannot tell you. Not chicken broth, bone broth. Okay.
It's a rough taste to get used to.
Yep.
Put some salt into it, but it's really good for your digestive health.
So good, dude. Nothing has cleared up my acne more than drinking bone broth every morning.
Yeah. So for meal prepping, this is all we do. It's really, really simple. And I don't want to fucking anybody say, I couldn't possibly eat the same thing every single day.
I hear used to it. Stop being a bitch.
I hear that excuse so many fucking times. And literally, Shaun and I, like, except for when we're in Europe. It doesn't bother us when we're in Europe. But when we were traveling the U.S., like,
oh, fuck.
We were so sick of not having our meals because they were different than what we've always had. Yep. And it was so sickening. So for breakfast, Shaun does 2 eggs. I do 1 egg. And then we have bacon, usually 3 strips each.
Yep.
And then you add...
I either do an avocado or I'll do rice.
On top of Shaun's.
And then if I'm working out, I'll do a protein shake with honey.
You don't need a big heavy breakfast. That is something that will take time for you to get used to. You just have to suffer through it, be hungry until noon or whenever you want to eat lunch.
Yeah, whenever you want to break your fast.
But honestly, it takes a week maybe to get used to not eating. Like,
what do you mean?
So, because that's a pretty light breakfast for most people.
Oh, sure.
So like we also don't usually eat breakfast until like 9 or 10. Sometimes earlier, depending on what we're doing. But like that gets me good until I eat lunch at like noon or 1. But it does take time to not. You just have to push through the hunger for like a week, and then your body gets used to only having that much for breakfast. And then for lunch, we do burgers and rice, basically. So I do 1 3.5 ounce. Well, we measure them raw. So raw, it's 3.5 ounces. So cooked, it's about 3 ounces. So I do 1 3-ounce burger. Shaun does 2 3-ounce burgers. Put some cheese, onions, ketchup on it. And then Shaun has rice with his. I'll have rice depending on how. I usually put some in there, but I don't usually always eat it. If you don't eat carbs, your body doesn't really crave it or need it.
I just need more calories.
Yeah. Shaun needs
Big
more.
difference between Sam and I.
Yeah. And usually, too, we pack a banana each for the day. That's probably one of the best things to have as a snack.
I used to eat apples every day, too. Mm-hmm. Sam's going to go through what she eats, like, every day, bar none, and then I'll tell you how I switch mine up.
I mean, that's about it.
And then, we do a lot of roasts.
We do a lot of roasts.
So, like, tonight, we're going to put a roast on, a beef roast. We're going to slice up red potatoes, onions, carrots, some water, and then that'll be, dinners for a couple days. We do chicken thighs. We make chicken thighs a lot. That's another filler meal. So I go in swings, and so I switch off all the time between usually eating 3 to 5 meals. Okay, so if I do 3, I usually do 3 big meals, about 900 calories a meal. And then if I'm doing, spaced out, like Sam mentioned lately, I've been doing like, 2 eggs, some bacon, and an avocado, maybe protein shake. And so then I got to eat some chicken with something else a little bit, maybe like a chicken and banana later on, right? So like that. But so when I'm doing my 3 meals, I'll eat at 10, I'll eat at 2, and I'll eat at 6. And so then I do a 16-hour fast. I eat at 10, 2, and 6. And so when I do those 3 meals, my first meal is usually 6 ounces of beef, 2 eggs, and some maybe a little bit of rice with some sauerkraut, and then maybe some OJ. That's usually meal number 1 after, and that's like I've worked out, I've been hanging out for a couple hours, so boom, knock that meal out. My lunch then would be about 8 ounces of beef from a roast, so 8 ounces from a roast, 4 to 5 ounces of potatoes, and then some sauerkraut again, and an apple. And then dinner was usually, it would either be, it's usually around 8 to 10 ounces of meat. That would switch between chicken, steak, salmon, or maybe some good pork. So those are like the 4 things I'd rotate, usually 8 to 10 ounces of meat. And then if I needed to, I would do some rice. I'd usually do jasmine rice or something. And then usually follow up with like a square of dark chocolate, 70% dark chocolate. Yeah.
It's really quite easy to meal prep all of it, because we'll just go through the order of operations basically. So we do 7 eggs for Mimi. We don't season anything for Mimi, so just 7 eggs on for Mimi, and then we do 9 eggs for us, 6 for Shaun, 3 for me. Put on bacon. I usually start with bacon.
So we do bacon to grease the so we use a Blackstone. Bacon, butter it up, get your bacon. So now you got your grease. Cook the eggs. Eggs are done. Then we put the ground beef on. So we do ground beef for Mimi, 2 pounds of ground beef.
Or a little over.
A little over, yep. And then we do
9 3.5 ounce burger patties.
9 3.5 ounce burger patties. Blackstone, cook that up, pull that off. At this point, Sam starts packaging. So Sam starts putting them into containers and shit. We use all glass containers. Sam starts putting them in glass containers. Then I usually get on, at that point, the chicken, right? After the beef is the chicken. So I get the chicken on. If we're doing potatoes, I'll get the potatoes on too. So cook the chicken. And then that's
And then if it's like today we had dinner, so Shaun made dinner while he
Yep.
was doing that.
So made dinner while I was doing that. Okay, boom, done. And then we usually have a roast out, pull out some fish. And so then we could have fish during the week. The roast, then we prep the roast. We already explained how we prep the roast.
So that'll be another 15 minutes we'll have to do, obviously, tonight.
Yep.
But that's already our breakfast and our lunches. So the roast is just on top.
Yeah, breakfast, lunch, roast, and for dinner. And then we also have we got the chicken still for the other meal. So we got 4 meals.
Well, because I was discussing because you already made the chicken on the Blackstone.
Oh, yeah.
So when Shaun makes chicken, we'll do 2 pieces for Mimi that are not seasoned, then 2 pieces for us that are seasoned. And that the chicken mainly we just use as like fillers.
Yep.
So if either of us need something, we can cut off a chunk.
Yep.
And then it's really easy to package up. Mimi's I weigh each one into 7 different containers, so she gets the same amount for everything. And then just 3 containers with Shaun's 2 eggs and bacon in there, 3 containers with my egg and bacon. And then lately we've been just putting all the burgers in 1 big container. We make rice fresh every single morning. Highly suggest doing that. Rice is a food that
molds. It starts to mold really easy.
You don't see it right away.
Yep.
But it is growing there. So we make rice fresh every single day.
Yep.
It's super easy.
Oh, dude, we
Get
do a cup
get
of
one
rice
of the
every day.
little rice cookers. Get one with a stainless steel insert.
Stainless steel is important. You don't want
because you don't want Teflon. And I think we got it off of Amazon too, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. We do a cup of basmati rice. If you look into we prefer jasmine rice, but if you look in between jasmine and basmati rice has a little more calories, which is good for me. But it's got about half the heavy metals that a jasmine rice has. So it's a healthier option for a rice is basmati. 1 cup dry rice. We do we do 3/4 cup bone broth with 3/4 cup filter water. So you got 1.5 cups of liquid to your 1 cup of rice.
It takes 2 minutes to put on in the morning. It takes half an hour to cook. So Shaun usually does it right away when he gets out of bed, because I sleep in. But then it's just super easy because then in the morning we just take out 2 containers, put 2 burgers in it for Shaun, 1 burger in it for me, 6 ounces of rice for Shaun, 3 ounces for me.
Yep.
Season it and then package them up and away we go.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. It's down and dirty. We got a system. We knock it out 1.5 max twice a week.
And if you don't have a Blackstone, we also like when it's raining, we do it in just 2 pans.
Yeah. We usually have 3 pans going.
3?
Yeah, I think we usually have 3 pans going.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because I usually do whatever. It doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah.
But very easily you can just do it on your stovetop too.
Yeah. It's actually just as fast on the stovetop. It just doesn't taste quite as good.
Obviously.
But that's kind of meal prep, dude. That's how we do it. We really are very serious about the quality of food we're eating most of the time.
Yeah. I highly suggest, like I said, going to the farmer's market for things, going to Aldi for things. Recently, we just started actually, like for our fruits, we've been actually going to places and picking them. We didn't get to with the strawberries, but we did with blueberries. There's an all-organic place in town, so I went and picked a lot of blueberries that'll last us forever. So we did freeze dry some, but then we put some in the freezer.
Yep.
Freezing berries is really, really good way to keep them for a long time.
Yep.
We just take them out. Shaun lets them soak in water for a little bit, and then they're like good as new.
Yeah.
So if you get your organic Greek plain yogurt, throw some berries and honey in there.
Yep.
Beauty.
I used to do that a lot.
Another quick thing, don't buy any processed garbage, because if you're gonna have it in your house, you're gonna eat it.
Yeah, we don't store that shit in the house because I will fuck it up, dude. I will ruin myself.
There are like some things that we found that are very healthy. There's Jackson's chips.
It's avocado oil and sweet potatoes and salt.
Yeah, one's they have a
Keep going.
Yeah, they have a coconut oil and an avocado oil one. But that's about all we really have for those. We also do like rice cakes with peanut butter and jelly. That's really healthy snack.
We only get peanut butter from one place that they grow locally, organic, all that shit. Because peanut butter is another thing that's molded really easy.
Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of what we do for meal prepping.
Low and skinny, guys. That's kind of how we break down our food. And now you got it.
Yeah.
And hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Catch you on the next one.
See ya.